guys, Christian here. In this week's video, I wanted to talk about something that is quite close to my heart personally in terms of study techniques. It's something that I try and teach to all of my tutoring students, and it's something that I think, especially in the current situation, you guys will really benefit from. It stems from a really simple idea, an age-old idea that people have been saying for a very long time, but not many people actually take seriously. And the idea is that you don't want to work hard, you want to work smart. Now, I actually think of myself as quite a lazy person, but not because it's that I don't want to do anything. It's that what I want to get done, I want to do in the most efficient way possible. I don't want to waste my time with activities that aren't going to reach towards my goal, and I don't want to take longer than I have to working because I want to enjoy my time to do things that I really enjoy doing. Now, I think that this mentality can be applied to your study, and it can be done in a really specific way that not only will free up a little bit of time, but will actually make you enjoy the time that you are spending studying a little bit more. More importantly than that is you'll enjoy the time that you're not spending studying more again. Now, what do I mean when I say work smart, not hard? When you're studying, a lot of people, especially if you're focusing on a maths-based subject, the idea is typically to blast through as many practice questions as you can to try and nail it. You want to spend hours working on them, you want to do lots of drills and lots of exercises and lots of repetition, and basically waste your time. It can be very, very, very frustrating. What I try and teach my students is to steer away from this mentality of grinding through practice questions. Instead, I get my students to focus their efforts on some more interesting questions. Questions that will help them really develop their understanding and really develop their skills without spending hours and hours and hours grinding for it. Now, how I do this is actually surprisingly simple. You just have to focus on the right style of questions. Now, when I say that, I mean you don't want to be spending time getting through questions 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 of every exercise in every textbook. Because those first 5 questions and the 60 sub-questions that go as part of them, they're not great giving you a whole lot of value. In fact, if anything, they're actually just making you bored. What you want to do is you want to pick and choose the questions so that you're getting the most amount of value out of your study time. Now, this would typically mean jumping along to something that's a little bit more challenging, or skipping your way through an exercise until you find the problems that really start to push your limits. Rather than getting through every second question in an exercise in questions 1, 2, and 3, do the last question in questions 1, 2, and 3, and if you're not having any trouble with them, then move on, okay? Because clearly that grind work is not actually benefiting you. Now, the exercises that will benefit you come in the next section, the sections that focus on understanding, that focus on problem solving, that focus on breaking down worded problems and the complex extended answer questions. Those questions are going to challenge you, but they're going to do it in a way that actually provides value to you. It's actually why that we wrote our practice question ebook. That's an ebook that is designed to focus the questions and help students actually work through problems that are providing some value rather than just the grindy type questions. Instead of writing a textbook with thousands and thousands and thousands of questions, I culled most of them, got it down to about 300, but each question is designed to push students and very quickly show them if they can work through a problem, and if not, it's supposed to highlight the areas that they need help with so that it makes it a little bit easier for them to focus their efforts on what they need to work on and not wasting time going through questions that you already know the answer to or that you already know how to do. Now, this idea of work smart, not hard means you can spend an hour on maths and get more value out of it than spending 3 hours grinding through questions. It forces you to prioritize the questions that you're dealing with. It forces you to prioritize understanding and problem solving because ultimately at the end of the day, you don't have time to do every question in the textbook. So why not take the time that you do have and maximize it? Rather than spending 3 hours grinding through an exercise, spend an hour in highly focused strategy questions and you'll get more value out of them than you would if you were just grinding through practice questions over and over and over and over again. It's this idea that you can actually spend less time and produce more value. It's an idea that we think about in business all the time, but it's an idea that's very seldom applied to study, and it's an area that I think a lot of students can benefit from. So what I want to talk about is consider the next time you're studying maths specifically, or really any subject that requires a lot of grinding and a lot of practice, start to think about the types of questions that you're working on. Start to try and prioritize the questions that you're working on. Work on identifying the questions that are actually going to help you, that are actually going to provide significant value in your education. Not the questions that are just blasting through a grind that you already really know the answer to and you don't need to worry about how to do. Once you're comfortable with an idea, move past it onto the next more challenging idea. The textbook that you have for class is full of thousands and thousands and thousands of questions. And if you reach a point where you're not sure how to tackle something, then you can backtrack a little, try and find the area where you're having a little bit of weakness, shore up that weakness, and then continue moving forward. But in this way, you're doing it very strategically. You're not grinding for 2 hours before you realize that you're getting stuck on a question. You might only be grinding for 5-10 minutes because of this strategy that allows you to leapfrog through to the point that's actually going to start helping you. So it's a technique that I used when I was studying in school, and it took me from studying methods 3 hours a night to studying for 25 minutes a night, and still coming through with a study score of 47, 48 out of 50. I actually can't remember now, it's been a little bit of a while, but I know it was way up there. And it wasn't because I was grinding through and doing hours and hours and hours of study a night, it was because I was prioritizing the study that I was doing. Like I said, I somewhat consider myself a slightly lazy person because I don't want to do the most work, I want to do the best work. But I don't want to waste my entire life doing it. And I encourage you to look for the style of questions that you can use to achieve that same result.